Hi, I'm It's Fit Maddie Wilson. Welcome back to my channel. Like you saw in the title, I'm going to be talking about my eating disorder. And actually, I asked you guys over on Instagram if you had questions about my eating disorder, about eating disorders in general. So I'm going to answer all of those at the end. But if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I've lost 100 pounds the right way, not with an eating disorder. I got PCOS. I got a lot of stuff going on. So if you like that, just hit subscribe right down below. I don't know where I'm going to even start with this. I guess I'll start in the beginning, but this is a very emotional thing for me. So if I start crying, just a little warning. Eating disorders are very personal, and it's very hard if you have one to open up about one. So I'm going to start in the beginning. I was on swim team ever since I was very young. I was always a great swimmer. I did competitive swimming. I did school swimming. I swam all the time, and being around a whole bunch of women that are skinny in bathing suits all the time, I think was a big contributor to my eating disorder, as well as the media. Around middle school was the time that I first started my eating disorder, but that was the time of Paris Hilton and the media saying that you had to be a stick to be beautiful. I'm not saying that people that are sticks aren't beautiful. That's what I just idolized, because that's what was being pushed in the media so much. So I actually made a whole wall in my bedroom of wallpaper of all the magazine cutouts of people I wanted to look like. And this is even before my eating disorder really happened. And I just kept idolizing and fantasizing, and I just looked up to these women so much, because I thought if you were that skinny, people would like you. And I did get bullied a lot as a kid as well. So my eating disorder came from a whole lot of different things, as well as family issues. I don't have the best relationship with my mom. I feel like all of these things, I didn't have control in my life, and the only thing I could control was my body and my food intake. So I think that's how all of it got started. I don't remember the first time I binged and purged, but I do remember just doing it when I ate a lot of food. So if I ate a lot of food, I would just, once a week just throw up and be like, oh, I got my eating disorder under control. I didn't even classify it as an eating disorder. I just thought it would be okay for me to binge some food and then throw it up so I didn't gain weight. And then it got a little bit worse, and the thoughts kept popping up, and I was like, okay, I'll binge at school, or I'll starve myself all the way till I get home and just eat one really big meal after swim practice and then throw up. And then it got to a point where, I was binging and purging 3 times a day. And then it got to a point of 5 times a day. And then my lowest point was I wouldn't leave the house. My mom would be at work, and I would binge and purge the whole entire day. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not proud of this. My eating disorder took over my life. I wasn't mentally there. That's all I could think about is, when can I eat next? When can I purge next? How skinny can I get? How can I control my food intake? It got really bad. I got into a relationship while I was in my eating disorder, and my ex didn't care. I just said, I'm gonna go get sick, and I would just eat and throw up. And then I got more towards the anorexic side, where with him I was very unhealthy, very skinny, and I would eat an apple and then throw up the apple. And so I've had forms of all different types of eating disorders. There's not just one that I really classify with, but my biggest one was bulimia. I did have some anorexia, and I also had compulsive exercising. So there was a couple points in my life where I would just exercise if I ate 1 carrot, and I would know if I ate that 1 carrot, I'd have to do 24 jumping jacks, and all calories and all of this stuff consumed my life. It sucked. But also in my mind at the time, I knew it was bad, kinda, but I didn't really care. And it got to the point where I was still with that ex, where I was like, I have to do something. I went to the doctor. This is where I might get emotional. And because I was binging and purging for so long, my esophagus was as if an 80-year-old, and basically all my stomach acid was ruining the inside of my throat. This is the first time I ever experienced like a side effect. What is happening? Okay, my light just fell back there, whatever. This is the first time I was experiencing like a real side effect from my eating disorder. Was my doctor was like, you can actually, you're gonna ruin your insides, but if the next time you purge, like you could have a heart attack, like you could die. The next time that you throw up, your body can give up on itself. And that hit me really hard, but I still wasn't really there mentally. I know that sounds weird, but like my thoughts were still like consumed about my image and all of this stuff. I don't know how I got myself to do this, but I put myself into treatment when I was 18. And this was since middle school to 18, years and years of an eating disorder. And I did it on my own. I got help, and that was the best and hardest time of my life. I was in severe inpatient treatment. They monitored everything, like no privacy whatsoever. Every time you went to the bathroom, when you were in the house, like everything was monitored and controlled, and they would go through your bags. And there was girls that would throw up in their pillowcase and then be like, oh, like I got blood or makeup on my pillowcase, I have to throw it away. Like literally everything that you had was checked. You had people that went to the bathroom with you, and even with food. So we would sit all together and we would have to go through like emotional charts, like the little charts that says like circle what you're feeling, and it's like all the little faces, and you'd have to do that before the meal and after the meal, and then you would have counseling right after. And it was a very, very intensive program, but I did learn so much. And I have relapsed a couple times, but I'm not, within the last year, I have not binged and purged, which is a very big win. One thing with eating disorders, you are not free of an eating disorder. It's not like you just go to treatment and you're like, oh, I'll never have that again, peace. Doesn't work like that. So I am in recovery always. Like this is the rest of my life. I get very triggered, very, very triggered, and this is actually why I'm making this video. As some of you guys know, on my Instagram, I have had a stomach issue for about 2 weeks, and I've been throwing up for 2 weeks, and those eating disorder thoughts were coming back. And it's just the fact that like me throwing up is just like, oh, but like, so I'm sick right now, that means I can like eat whatever I want because I'm gonna throw up anyways. And like my ed talk is what they told us in therapy, like this is your ed speaking, your eating disorder speaking. My ed talks were like taking over. Like ed was really trying to win in those situations. So I just wanted to open up about my story, share some things that have worked for me. With like these negative thoughts, I just went on Instagram and expressed them to you, and I had a lot of people reach out to me and saying that like, I think I have an eating disorder, I don't know what to do. So I'm going to get to those questions in a little bit, but I just want to talk a little bit more about treatment. I did learn a lot of amazing coping mechanisms, and that is the biggest thing I was ever missing in my life. Like I never knew that you needed coping mechanisms. Like I just thought you just went through life and like whatever happens, happens. But I realized with my eating disorder, it was related to emotion and control. And emotion, I was a very emotional eater. So if I got in a fight with my mom or my ex-boyfriend, or if I got in a fight with someone, or if I had a bad day, I would think about my eating disorder more and be like, okay, so I'm really sad, I'm going to eat a whole pizza, and then I'm going to throw that up, and like that's the emotion and the control. And so realizing that when you're upset, instead of going to that pizza, you can call your friend. I actually picked up crocheting. Like I know how to crochet, art, like painting. There's so many like outlets that I learned, which was so amazing. The coping mechanisms is huge. And then also having a new relationship with food. This is something I'm still working on today. I don't have the best relationship with food, but so much better than before. Like, I would look at a piece of pizza and be like, okay, that has 220 calories, it has, 30 grams of fat, has this. Like, I would overanalyze everything that I was eating, and like, to not have those thoughts that much anymore is very, very strong, and it's something I'm working on every day. I did relapse when my dad was going through some health issues, so that's something I talked to a therapist about, and I realized in the moment that I was wrong. And before, with eating disorders, you don't know really that it's wrong, you just do what Ed says to do. But when my dad was going through some stuff, I binged, and I knew I shouldn't have purged, and I did. And so I reached out and I got some help, and it's totally okay for help, like to get help. If you have a drug addiction, if you have an eating disorder, if you have any mental health issues, like, I support you getting help. Like, that was the best thing that I've ever done for myself. I don't know how I even like mentally put myself into treatment at 18, but I did, and my family got closer. Not my mom, but my dad and I got closer for a while, and we were able to work through some stuff. But that is my like eating disorder story. Of course, there's more detail. If you want me to make another part going into like how I stop thought processes and all of that stuff, let me know. But it is question time. I got my laptop here. I'm just going to go through a couple questions that I thought were very important to go over in this video. All right, how do you deal with overeating? So in treatment, basically I couldn't overeat. They gave you exactly what your body needed. That's actually how I learned a lot about nutrition, and food is actually fuel and all of that stuff. But in treatment, I couldn't overeat, but I learned how to not overeat anymore by meal prepping and really being cautious of portion controls and understanding that like you can still enjoy good food, but you just don't have to eat all of it, because my emotions were tied to it. So learning that meal prepping, portion control, all of that kind of plays in with itself. And if you are really, really emotional, like I am an emotional girl, I cry at least twice a week, at least minimum. Like, I'm very emotional. I'm not ashamed of that. I let my emotions show sometimes a little bit too much. But if I'm feeling extra emotional, I use my coping mechanisms, and I will make content. Like right now, I'm filming a video. Like, I am putting myself out there, but also distracting myself, if that makes sense. So you can go on a walk, you can call your family, you can call a friend. Like, dealing with overeating is also dealing with your emotions and learning how to deal with those. Okay, I like this one. How do you fight the thoughts? I don't like the word fight the thoughts. So Ed, that's what we called it in treatment. So Ed is in here. Ed's talking to you and saying, you need to go binge and purge, or you should throw that up, or you should eat that whole pizza. Instead of fighting that thought, listen to it and be like, no, I'm gonna go on a walk. So basically, like, meditate on those Ed thoughts, but don't act on them. So hear them, don't act. I know that's not the most helpful, but if you really think about it and you really apply it to your daily life, like, be mindful of your Ed thoughts, and it will help a lot. I know I learned, so much in treatment, but also seeing a therapist, like, it really helps if you write all of your Ed thoughts down, say them out loud to your therapist. They'll make you repeat them a couple times, at least my therapist did, and basically you don't let those thoughts control you anymore. Don't fight them, just don't react to them. A lot of these questions that you guys asked me over on Instagram, I have pretty much answered already by telling my story, so I'm not going to read off all these questions, but I do have a couple more. What has affected your current physical health? My bulimia affected my esophagus. I have some stomach issues. It's so hard. I have some, I have makeup on right now, but I have damaged skin from throwing up a lot. I have broken blood blisters on my face. There's just a lot. It ruined a lot of friendships. It ruined a lot of things. Sorry, you said physical health. The the biggest thing is my esophagus. That's something I'm making sure like I'm not, I don't have acid reflux, because that really can affect my esophagus and damage it even further. So that's the biggest thing. This one makes me really sad. It says, how can I stop starving and binging circle? Like, I've been there and I know, and it's really, really hard. It's just, there's so much. Seek professional help, please. Like, you can kill yourself doing this. You are killing yourself slowly. So just please, like, learn balance with food. Understand that food is health and your health is number one. Weight loss is not number one. And that's something I didn't know for a very long time. And I'm thinking about you. Please, just please get help. Oh my gosh. This is obviously really personal, because I wish I had someone to like ask that to when I was dealing with this. I was really alone in my head. Like, I didn't let anyone in. My eating disorder was my secret. And so thank you for reaching out. I really hope that you go see help, because you don't have to live a life like this, because the life you're living now is not a life. It's not. And I'm sorry but you need to hear that. It is not a life that you want to live. And there's so many women that die because of eating disorders. So please get help if you're going through something. I'm actually going to just stop answering questions right now. I read through the rest of them and I pretty much covered everything. I was just emotional from that last one. Again, this is just my story. If you are going through something, please get help. This is serious. Eating disorders are serious. It's not something that you can just do for a little bit to lose weight and then you'll be fine. Like, mentally, it's so hard. It's so hard, and it consumes your life. It takes away a lot of things. It gets you in the darkest place. And I'm really glad that I'm not in that place anymore, but it just like makes me sad that my followers are going through this. So I'm gonna cry now because I feel like it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Again, if you want to know more about my eating disorder, if you want me to talk about this more, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate and love each and every one of you. All right, bye. I just filmed a 30-minute video about eating disorders, and that was hard. That was really hard, but I want you to know, if you're like going through an eating disorder, like, you can get help. You can do it. Like, I'm here for you. If you want me to find places for you to go into treatment, like, I can give you some links online. There's so many great resources online. So, like, please don't give up if you don't think you can get better. Like, no, you can. Like, I believe in you.